What if I told you that mind reading is real, but not in the way movies show it? You cannot hear someone's thoughts like a voice inside your head. But you can understand what they are thinking, before they even say it. Every human being constantly gives signals, through their eyes, their tone, their posture, their silence. The art of reading minds is not magic. It is observation. It is awareness. It is emotional intelligence at the highest level. And once you master it, you will start seeing what others miss. The truth is, people reveal their thoughts all the time. But most of us are too distracted to notice. When someone lies, their body reacts before their words do. When someone feels insecure, their tone changes slightly. When someone is hiding something, their eye contact shifts. The problem is not that signals are missing. The problem is that we are not paying attention. Mind reading begins with slowing down and observing deeply. The more present you are in conversations, the more invisible information you capture. Words can lie. Body language rarely does. A person may say, "I'm fine," but their crossed arms, tight jaw, and forced smile tell a different story. Micro-expressions, tiny facial movements that last less than a second, reveal true emotions. A slight eyebrow raise. A quick lip press. A brief eye roll. These are windows into the mind. If you train yourself to notice these subtle cues, you can sense discomfort, attraction, anger, or doubt instantly. The body whispers the truth when the mouth tries to hide it. Listen carefully to how people speak, not just what they say. Tone carries emotional information. A slight hesitation before answering a question can mean uncertainty. A sudden change in pitch may indicate stress. Fast speech may signal nervousness. Slow, steady speech may signal confidence. When you combine tone analysis with body language observation, you begin to see patterns. And patterns reveal thoughts. Smart mind readers don't interrupt. They observe quietly and connect the dots. At its core, mind reading is emotional intelligence. It is the ability to sense what someone is feeling without them saying it directly. To develop this skill, you must first understand your own emotions. If you cannot recognize your own anger, fear, or insecurity, you cannot recognize it in others. Self-awareness sharpens perception. The more emotionally balanced you are, the more accurately you can read others. Mind reading begins within you. Lie detection is not about catching someone instantly. It is about noticing inconsistencies. When a person lies, their brain works harder. They must create a story, remember it, and make it sound natural, all at the same time. That mental pressure leaks through behavior. You may notice delayed responses, unnecessary details, or overly defensive reactions. Sometimes the story changes slightly when repeated. Smart observers don't accuse immediately. They compare patterns. They observe baseline behavior, how the person normally speaks and acts, and then look for deviations. A lie is rarely loud. It is usually subtle. And the art of reading minds is the art of catching those subtle cracks in the story. Eyes are powerful indicators of thought. While not every eye movement means the same thing, certain patterns reveal mental processing. When people recall real memories, their eyes often move differently compared to when they imagine something new. Sudden blinking, avoiding direct gaze at key moments, or looking down frequently may signal discomfort. But here is the key: never judge based on one signal alone. Mind reading is about clusters of signals. Eye movement combined with tone, posture, and timing gives a clearer picture. The eyes are not just windows to the soul. They are reflections of mental activity. Micro-expressions are the fastest truth signals. They appear for less than a second and disappear just as quickly. A flash of anger before a polite smile. A flicker of fear before a confident statement. These tiny expressions are involuntary, meaning the person cannot control them easily. To master this skill, you must slow your observation. Watch interviews without sound. Focus only on faces. Study how emotions briefly surface before being hidden. The more you train your eyes, the more you begin to see emotions beneath words. It feels almost supernatural, but it is simply trained awareness. Sometimes, the loudest message is silence. When someone suddenly becomes quiet after a certain topic is mentioned, that silence carries meaning. When a person avoids answering directly and changes the subject, that avoidance speaks loudly. Silence can signal guilt, discomfort, sadness, or deep thinking. Smart mind readers are comfortable sitting in silence. They don't rush to fill it. They let it breathe. Because in that silence, the truth often surfaces. People reveal more when you give them space. The most important rule of reading minds is understanding baseline behavior. Every person has a natural way of speaking, moving, and reacting. Some people naturally avoid eye contact. Some naturally speak fast. Some gesture a lot. If you don't know their baseline, you may misinterpret signals. Observe people when they are relaxed and comfortable. Notice their normal patterns. Only then can you detect unusual changes. Mind reading is not about assumptions. It is about comparison. The difference between normal and abnormal reveals hidden thoughts. Attraction rarely announces itself loudly. Most people try to hide it. But the body almost never lies. When someone feels attracted, their attention shifts naturally toward the person they like. Their body angle turns slightly in that direction. Their feet may point toward that person even if their face doesn't. They might adjust their clothes, fix their hair, or subtly mirror gestures. Their voice may soften or become more energetic. Attraction creates nervous energy. The key is not one signal, it is repetition. When multiple subtle signs appear together, you are not imagining it. You are observing it. Every conversation has an invisible hierarchy. Someone leads. Someone follows. Power is often shown through space, tone, and interruptions. The person who speaks calmly, pauses confidently, and maintains relaxed posture usually holds psychological control. Meanwhile, someone who speaks too fast, over-explains, or constantly seeks approval often feels lower power internally. Mind readers observe who interrupts whom, who laughs first, who breaks eye contact. These micro-details reveal the unspoken structure of the interaction. If you learn to see this hierarchy, you can consciously adjust your own behavior and shift the balance of power. Not all confidence is real. Sometimes loud voices, exaggerated gestures, and constant self-praise hide deep insecurity. Overconfidence often masks fear of not being enough. Watch for contradictions. A person who boasts constantly but reacts strongly to small criticism may be protecting fragile self-esteem. True confidence is calm. It does not need to prove itself. Mind reading means looking beyond surface behavior. When you understand that arrogance can hide fear, your perception becomes sharper. You stop being intimidated by noise. People rarely confess directly. Instead, they leak information. It may come through slips of the tongue, sudden emotional reactions, or over-detailed explanations. Sometimes a person denies something too quickly, before you even finish asking. That urgency itself reveals discomfort. Other times, they repeat a phrase multiple times to convince not you, but themselves. Smart observers notice these psychological leaks. Secrets don't explode. They escape slowly through small cracks in behavior. The final layer of mind reading is self-control. Once you understand how others leak emotions, you must control your own signals. Slow your movements. Control your breathing. Maintain steady eye contact. Speak clearly and pause intentionally. When you master your body language, you project calm authority. And here is the secret. When you appear emotionally stable, others reveal more. People feel safe around stillness. They open up in front of control. True mind reading is not just about decoding others. It is about becoming unreadable yourself. Manipulation does not look evil. It often looks friendly. The manipulator may smile, agree, and act supportive, but slowly guide your decisions. One common tactic is guilt pressure. They remind you of favors. They say, after everything I did for you. Another tactic is fear creation. What if this fails? What if you regret it? Manipulators plant emotional seeds and let your mind grow the anxiety. To read this, observe emotional shifts. If you suddenly feel guilty, afraid, or pressured after a calm conversation, pause. Ask yourself, did this emotion come from logic, or was it planted? When someone reacts with sudden anger to a simple question, it often hides vulnerability. Anger is a defensive emotion. It protects something fragile underneath: insecurity, fear, or guilt. Mind readers don't focus on the volume of anger. They focus on the trigger. Why did that specific topic cause such intensity? Strong reactions usually protect weak points. If you calmly observe instead of reacting emotionally, you begin to see patterns. Anger becomes a spotlight showing where the person feels exposed. Reading one person is powerful. Reading a group is next level. In any group, there is a hidden leader, even if they don't talk the most. Watch who others look at before making decisions. Notice whose approval matters. Groups move emotionally together. If one influential member shows doubt, others subtly follow. Mind reading in groups requires observing energy flow. Who controls the mood? Who shifts the direction? Once you see this, you understand that influence is rarely about loudness. It is about silent authority. Silence can control conversations more than words. When you pause after someone speaks, they often continue talking, revealing more than intended. Silence creates slight discomfort. And most people rush to fill discomfort with information. Skilled communicators use silence strategically. They maintain eye contact and simply wait. This small pause shifts control. The other person feels the need to justify, explain, or elaborate. In that moment, they reveal thoughts they never planned to share. Excuses are often fear in disguise. When someone repeatedly delays action, gives reasons, or avoids commitment, it may not be laziness. It may be fear of failure, rejection, or responsibility. Instead of judging quickly, observe the emotional tone behind the excuse. Does their voice drop? Do they avoid eye contact? Do they justify excessively? Fear hides behind logic. And once you recognize that, you begin to understand people with deeper clarity. Mind reading is not about controlling others. It is about understanding what they are too afraid to say. The highest level of mind reading is emotional control. When you can control your reactions, no one can control you. Most people react instantly, to criticism, to praise, to provocation. But masters pause. They observe their own emotions before responding. That pause gives power. Because the person who reacts loses control. The person who responds strategically gains influence. When others cannot predict your emotional reaction, they cannot manipulate you. Emotional discipline is silent dominance. Every interaction has a frame, a psychological boundary that defines who holds control. If someone insults you and you defend yourself emotionally, you accepted their frame. But if you calmly redirect the conversation, you create your own frame. Masters never argue inside someone else's emotional structure. They shift it. They stay calm, ask questions, and subtly guide the direction. The one who controls the frame controls the outcome. The final evolution of mind reading is becoming unreadable yourself. Reduce unnecessary expressions. Control nervous gestures. Slow down your blinking. Speak with measured tone. When your external signals are calm and minimal, people struggle to decode you. And when they cannot read you, they feel slightly uncertain. That uncertainty creates psychological advantage. Mystery builds authority. At master level, you don't just read behavior, you predict intention. Before someone speaks, their breathing changes. Their posture shifts. Their eyes focus. Intentions form in the body before they form in language. If you train your awareness deeply, you begin sensing what someone is about to say. It feels like intuition, but it is actually trained observation operating faster than conscious thought. True influence is invisible. You don't command. You suggest. You plant ideas gently and allow others to believe it was their own decision. When people feel ownership of a decision, they commit deeply. Master communicators use questions instead of orders. They guide thinking instead of controlling actions. Influence without force is the highest social intelligence. Not everyone who listens cares. Fake empathy often includes exaggerated nodding, dramatic tone, and quick advice. Real empathy is quieter. It listens more than it speaks. It asks deeper questions. Mind readers observe emotional alignment. Does the person truly match your emotional state, or are they performing sympathy? Subtle mismatches reveal truth. Presence is silent power. When you enter a room calmly, move slowly, and maintain grounded posture, people notice. You don't need to speak loudly. Energy speaks first. Your breathing, your eye contact, your stillness, they communicate authority. The most powerful person in the room is often the calmest. At master level, you stop reacting to individual events. You start seeing patterns. Fear repeats. Ego repeats. Desire repeats. Human behavior follows emotional loops. Once you recognize these loops, people become predictable. And predictability creates advantage. You stop being surprised by drama. You see it forming before it happens. With awareness comes responsibility. Mind reading is powerful, but it must not be used for harm. Understanding emotions gives you influence over fragile human states. Use this skill to build trust, not break it. To protect yourself, not exploit others. True mastery is ethical. Without ethics, power becomes manipulation. When you master the art of reading minds, you don't just understand people, you understand human nature. You see fear behind anger. Desire behind confidence. Insecurity behind arrogance. You move through conversations with calm control. You influence without force. You observe without reacting. And slowly, silently, you become the most aware person in any room. That is the art. That is the power. And now, you see what others cannot.